Hi, it's Rudolph. Um, we're going to cover self-development again, and this is going to be great for you because this will give you some good reasons why you should be studying what I'm studying. Book that I've got is called Cybernetics. This is actually the original version of the book. There is another version called the New Cybernetics. Both excellent books. I've read both. I read actually this one. I read this one for the first time when I was 11. I've mentioned this before. Um, the only mistake that I've made with this book is that I haven't studied it enough. And on this last go around, because one of my mentors suggested that I should be doing a 30-30-30 study program, which is read for 30 minutes a day, watching a video or listen to an audio for 30 minutes, and do it for 30 days. I am on day 231. And it's made a difference. And I said in my last video, am I a multimillionaire yet? No, not the way I want to be, no. But I'll say something that another person said and it just struck home. Someone asked him, when did you feel that you were a success? And he came right back and said, when I was still sleeping on the park bench. I'm not sleeping on a park bench, but let me tell you something. I've done this before. I've been there before. I've started businesses on my kitchen table. One that I was considered really bad at, and took that business with a $3,000 investment, a wife who was 8 months pregnant, and built it to a 50-employee company with 8 offices in California. Can I do it? Yeah, it's doable. It's books like this. It's other books that will help you do it. Other study books, other videos, other audios. The only thing that won't work is doing nothing. I can guarantee you without a doubt that you won't get any better if you're doing nothing. I've also done this with very little money, when I was at a point where I didn't have very much money to play with, where I was actually borrowing a 14-year-old at the time, or 13-year-old computer that was still running a Pentium 4 XP. I've worked with that. It doesn't matter where you're starting. The thing is that you have to start. So let me tell you very quickly what the difference is, because this will give you a great idea. I read this when I was 11. At 13, I go off to a school, and it's a live-in school. And because of the way the dorms are broken up, there was 4 dorms, but actually there was 3 in there. But the biggest dorm that I was in was split up and made into 2 dorms. I think they're called house parents at the time, has a big meeting and says, I am going to make Campos the dorm supervisor. Everybody turns and looks at me and says, he's the newest guy here. Now, I don't know what this guy saw in me, but he gave me leadership over roughly 30 guys. And these guys were ready to come after me. They're saying, why is this guy the dorm leader or supervisor when he just got here? He's only been here 3 weeks. Why should he be made the top dog? These guys were all rejects. We were all being kicked out from other dorms because nobody else wanted them. Those guys, I was too new to not be wanted, but because I was new, I wasn't wanted. And I made a speech to these guys and lit a fire under these guys that for the next 16 weeks, we had perfect scores every single week in our dorm. I didn't have to do anything special. Actually, I motivated them so much, got them so fired up, that they pretty much operated in support of. Later on in life, I stepped into a business that I had no knowledge about, selling machine tools, which is lathes and milling machines and other stuff for machine shops. I didn't know anything about it. I still know very little about it. I replaced a guy who had been there for a year, who had over 30 years experience, and he didn't have one sale in a year. Now, it was a new company, and that was the purpose of it, but the man who hired me, who replaced me with him, or excuse me, him with me, said, I want you to do it because I believe you can do it. And he actually chased me for 2 months. I didn't want to go work for him. Using some of the techniques that I learned in this book, my third day there, I sold 3 lathes for $45,000. We took that company from 0 sales in a year to over $7 million using these techniques. And finally, this is my favorite story because I'm one of this person's biggest fans, was my daughter when she was little. She was 5 years old, and I used to love to take her to miniature golf places so we could talk. You'd give her an opportunity to talk to me while, we would be playing, and because I relate so well to sports, this was great for us. So she's out there and she's putting it, and she's holding the club in every single way that's wrong. And we come to this most difficult of spots. It's like a pyramid with the top sawed off, and the ball literally has to go up this pyramid and down. And most of the time, if you hit toward it, no matter how you hit it or how hard you hit it, it's going to roll up and roll back, or roll up and just have enough momentum to go through. So I used one of the techniques in here, which is to visualize every single thing, but just the ball going into the cup is where you start. And you focus on it so much, you see it's so intense that your muscles figure out exactly what needs to be done. Now listen to me well, because this isn't just an isolated incident. So she's standing there, closes her eyes, listens to everything I have to say. I've got two couples behind us that are nagging, or one of the guys just yammering away, wanting to get through and wanting to play through, etc., etc. So we have to put up with this knucklehead. And she squares up, lines up. It's a horrible stance, footing all wrong, holding the club all wrong. Hits the ball. The ball just rolls there, and keep in mind, you've got a 5-year-old doing this. The ball rolls all the way up that little ramp, straight into that hole. First time. I couldn't do it. I'll be honest with you, I couldn't do it. But the thing that I learned was this: if a 5-year-old can do it, you can learn how. And I was referring to myself, and I did. There are sports stars that may not have ever heard of this book, or that have, but that use a lot of these techniques. There are very famous, successful online marketers that I know of, that I can name. As a matter of fact, every single mentor that I have, when I mention this book, will say, oh yes, use it, use it. Mention it to anybody that you'll find out there that's a big name, and they'll tell you, yeah, you want to read this book, you want to study this book. You don't just want to read it and, like a novel and put it away. I've been reading this book every single day for 230 days. So, am I there yet? Not for me, but I'm getting there. So, find the book. If you can't find it, let me know. I found it for, I think it's $4 plus shipping, or including shipping. I can't remember. I think it was plus shipping. But you can find it on PDF. There's a lot of things that you can find that's not going to cost you a nickel. I understand what it's like to be out there and not have anything, because that's how I started. I've also taken the money that I've made on a number of successful things that I've done, and rather than buying myself a fancy new whatever gadget, car, whatever you name it, I went back and reinvested it on training. Yeah, I've spent a lot of money on training, because the way I see it is this, and as a very famous man named Jim Rohn said, and by the way, his student was Tony Robbins. Rohn said, work harder on yourself than you do on your business. So on that happy note, I'll leave you, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.